for this one, it gets a little bit trickier. We still want to use this idea that we are going to look for common squares, but these are not perfect square roots. Like we could not perfectly take the square root. So we're going to have to split this up into multiplication. And so we're going to look at our list of common squares, our whole numbers, and we're going to see which of these perfect squares will divide into the number that is underneath the square root sign. So 18 can be divided by 9, which is on our perfect common squares list. So we're going to rewrite 18 as a product using 9 times 2. Now, 9 is the same thing as 3 squared. So we're going to replace that 9 with a 3 squared. And then when we have something squared times another number, we can actually split this up into 2 multiplications that look like this. The square root of 3 squared times the square root of 2. And the square root of 3 squared is just equal to 3. Remember, those go against each other. And we can't take the square root of 2. It's not a perfect square, and that's as small as it can get. So we're going to have this square root 2 left alone out to the side. And remember, since we took the square root, we still have that plus or minus. And then we're going to do the same thing with this 24. We're going to go directly to our list of common squares, and we're going to look for things that can divide evenly into 24. And 24 can be divided evenly into, or 4 can divide evenly into 24 as the square root of 4 times 6. And now 4 is the same thing as 2 squared times 6. And again, we get to split up this multiplication. So we have the square root of 2 squared times the square root of 6. That's an okay thing to do. And when we take the square root of 2 squared, that leaves us with just 2 times the square root of 6. The square root of 6 can't go any smaller. But since we took a square root, we have to have the plus or minus out to this side. And lastly, we're going to look at the square root of 125. So if we are looking at our list of perfect squares, 25 can go into 125 evenly by multiplying by 5. And 25 is the same thing as 5 squared. So we're going to sub it in and then split up into our 2 multiplications. So the square root of 5 squared times the square root of 5. And the square root of 5 squared is equal to 5. The square root of 5 is not able to be simplified any further. And we can't forget about that plus minus right there.